In the 1990s, a psychologist named Elizabeth Loftus ran an experiment that made a lot of people deeply uncomfortable. Not because it was dangerous or unethical, because of what it revealed about something every person walking around alive today completely relies on: their own memory. Here is what she did. She recruited volunteers and gave each of them a booklet containing 4 short stories about things that had supposedly happened to them as children. The stories were provided by their family members, real incidents, real details, things that had genuinely occurred, except one of the 4 stories was completely made up. Loftus and her team had fabricated it entirely. It described the volunteer getting lost in a shopping mall as a child, becoming frightened and confused, and eventually being found and reunited with their family by a kind stranger. None of it had happened. The family members confirmed it. These people had never been lost in a mall. The volunteers were asked to read the booklet and try to remember as much as they could about each story. Then they came back for follow-up interviews. About 25% of them remembered the mall incident. Not vaguely, not uncertainly, they remembered it. Some added details that weren't even in the original fabricated story. What the stranger looked like, how scared they felt, what their parents said when they found them. They had taken a story that never happened and built it into a full, confident, emotionally textured memory. And when Loftus told them at the end of the study that one of the 4 stories was fake and asked them to guess which one, some of them pointed to one of the real stories. They were more confident in the false memory than in something that had actually happened to them. This experiment, and the years of research that followed it, changed how psychology thought about memory in a fundamental way. And the implications go well beyond psychology. The first thing to understand is why this happens at all, because it seems like it shouldn't. Memory feels reliable. It feels like access to what actually happened. When you remember something clearly, it feels different from imagining something. More solid, more real, more like fact. But memory is not a recording. It is a reconstruction. Every time you access a memory, your brain is not playing back a stored file. It is actively rebuilding the experience from fragments, and in the process of rebuilding, it fills gaps, incorporates things it has learned since, adjusts details to fit the current emotional context. Each time you remember something, you are slightly rewriting it. This means memory is vulnerable to suggestion in ways most people would never guess. If someone describes an event to you in enough detail, with enough confidence, and the description is plausible enough to fit your general experience of the world, your brain can incorporate that description into your own memory and make it feel like something you actually experienced. You don't feel it happening. There is no moment where you think, I am now inserting this fabricated event into my personal history. It just becomes part of what you remember, indistinguishable from everything else. Loftus didn't stop with the mall study. Over the following years, she and other researchers implanted memories of being attacked by a vicious animal, nearly drowning as a child, witnessing a physical assault, and in one particularly striking study, a memory of meeting Bugs Bunny at Disneyland, which is impossible because Bugs Bunny is a Warner Brothers character and has never appeared at Disneyland. Roughly 30% of participants in that study later reported a memory of shaking Bugs Bunny's hand at the park. They remembered something that could not have happened. Specifically, in detail, the implications of this research extended far beyond academic psychology and directly into courtrooms. Loftus became one of the most prominent expert witnesses in legal history, testifying in hundreds of cases about the reliability of eyewitness testimony and recovered memories. Eyewitness testimony has historically been considered some of the most persuasive evidence in a criminal trial. A person takes the stand, looks the jury in the eye, and says, "I saw him do it." And that confidence, that certainty, carries enormous weight. But the research shows that eyewitness confidence and eyewitness accuracy are not the same thing. A witness can be absolutely certain of something they remembered incorrectly. The certainty is not evidence of accuracy. It is evidence of how memory feels from the inside. Loftus's work became particularly relevant in cases involving recovered memories, situations where an adult, often in therapy, suddenly recalls a traumatic event from childhood that they had no previous memory of. Some of these recovered memories were of serious crimes, including abuse. Some people went to prison based largely on these testimonies. The research raised hard questions. If memory can be implanted through suggestion, how reliable are memories that emerge under therapeutic conditions specifically designed to help someone access buried experiences? How do you distinguish a genuine recovered memory from one that was inadvertently constructed through the process of trying to find it? These questions caused genuine controversy. Some researchers and therapists felt Loftus's work was being used to unfairly dismiss real victims. Loftus herself received significant personal backlash, including threats. The debate about recovered memories became one of the more heated arguments in psychology in the 1990s and has not been fully resolved. What the research does clearly establish is this: false memories are real. They can be created through suggestion and social influence. They feel subjectively identical to genuine memories, and they can be held with complete confidence by the person experiencing them. This has consequences that go beyond courtrooms. Think about how often your memory of a shared event differs from someone else's memory of the same event. Think about how confident both of you feel. Think about the arguments that happen when two people who were both present at the same moment remember it completely differently, and neither one is lying. Neither one might be accurately remembering either. Think about how much of your sense of who you are, where you came from, what shaped you, is built on memories that are reconstructed every time you access them. Memories that could have been influenced by what other people told you happened, by photographs you've seen, by stories repeated at family dinners until they feel personal. The person you think you are is built partly on a foundation that is less solid than it feels. Elizabeth Loftus didn't set out to undermine anyone's sense of self. She was trying to understand how memory works. What she found is that it works very differently from how we assume it does, and that the difference matters enormously in ways we are still working out. The mall you were never lost in is sitting in someone's head right now, as real as anything that actually happened to them, and they would swear on it.